Hi everyone, just a quick reminder that if you want to follow along the journey of making this dress in real time with me, both on Instagram and YouTube, then please consider supporting me on Patreon. You get to choose how much to pledge per month, and you will receive live updates both on my close friends' Instagram stories and access to all of the YouTube videos right now. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hello, so it's a new day. It is now the 14th of May. And I have decided I am going to try get as much done as possible on the train ruffle, or I think it's pronounced balayage. I think it's a French word, but essentially it's a ruffle that attaches to the underside of the train and stops any of this nice fabric touching the ground. And then you can just detach the train ruffle, chuck that into the washing machine, and yeah, that's the part that actually touches the ground and gets dirty. So I've spent the whole morning ironing out all of these cotton pieces and trimming off all of the seams on them because a lot of this pink patterned cotton material is an old bedsheet or remnants of a bedsheet that I altered. So yeah, that's why I needed to iron out all of the pieces and cut off the excess seams and things that I don't need. As for the base of the train ruffle itself, I'm thinking of using this cotton broadcloth, which is the same sort of material that I used for the interlining on the skirt. Also, I have gone around the whole back of the skirt and pinned around 5 inches up from where the skirt touches the ground, and I've just done that from the side seam to the other side seam. And what I'm thinking of doing now is taking the skirt off the dress form, laying it flat on the ground, and then tracing these panels onto my broadcloth material over here. And I'm hoping that I will be able to get each of these train panels up until that point up there where the pins are, cut out twice, because I do want the base of the train ruffle to be a double layer of cotton. But we'll see how I go. And I'm probably going to do this off camera. Yeah, we'll see. So I've just laid the skirt out on the ground on the fold along the centre back. So the skirt comes down to about there, and you can sort of see the outline of where it starts to taper up towards the side seam. On top of the skirt, I have laid down my cotton broadcloth material for the train ruffle base. And what I've done is aligned the fold with the fold of the skirt, laid it out as best as I can to try and fit as much fabric on the main part of the train as possible. And clearly you can see that I won't have enough to do a double layered train ruffle thing with this broadcloth material. It's on the fold, it will only be enough for one, like as a single layer. Hopefully that makes sense. But this section here, where it falls off the skirt, I'm thinking that these pieces here could be used to extend this up here to cover off this portion of the skirt. So that's what I'm thinking of doing with this section of the material that's not being used. I'll have one go up here, and then obviously the other one, which is on the underside, would repeat the same pattern on the other side because the skirt is folded over. And then as for those scrap pieces over there, I'm going to use those as some of the ruffles on the actual train ruffle. Now, because I won't be able to get 2 layers of cotton for my train ruffle base out of this cotton material, I am going to be using, I do have a whole roll here of polytop, poplin, that's it. Yeah, so that's 80% polyester and like 20% cotton, which is not like my preferred material, but that is 10 meters on the roll, or close to 10 meters, and this stuff is $2 per meter, so really cheap. And I'd rather use cheap stuff than to pay for expensive things. And also, like, this is just the train ruffle that's going to be dragging along the ground anyway, so it doesn't have to be expensive material. And I am just trying to use up all of the cotton material that I have left over. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to go ahead and cut out these pieces, and then I will come back to you with what I've got. But I'm hoping that I will get this piece cut out of the cotton material. I will have this piece here cut out to match this shape up here. Those offcuts, I can save them for ruffles, and then I'm hoping that I can replicate whatever pieces I cut out of these, of the cotton broadcloth. I can cut that also out of the cheap poplin fabric. So I can use that poplin fabric to line this cotton with, just to make it a bit more structured, because one layer of cotton is probably not structured enough. So that's what I am thinking. I'm hoping it will work out. I don't know if you can see that, but there is a very faint blue chalk line which I've drawn, and I'm going to trim down the broadcloth layer so it is matching that blue line, which means that this much is going to come off the actual skirt at the back of the train, because I think that part looks ugly. So yeah, I am shortening the train quite a bit, but I think this is a much nicer shape than whatever the hell this is. So yeah, but so far so good. Okay, so I've cut out both pieces. I've got the main train piece here and then the little offcut up there. I am just going to take this over to the sewing machine and sew these two pieces together there. Obviously same for the other side, so once I unfold this main train piece, there's also another piece behind there, which I'll just sew to the other side of the train piece. Yeah, I sort of just followed my pin lines there onto where to cut the curve, but I'm not too fussy about how neat this is, since no one will see it. So yeah, I'm going to take that to the sewing machine, sew that together, and then I will move on to the poplin material and see what I can do with that. I know this looks really weird, but this is my train ruffle base piece. That's the shape. It looks sort of like a, well, I don't know what it looks like. I was gonna say it looks like a cat, like with two ears. Anyway, now I can't unsee that. So yeah, this is my weird looking train base piece. As for the parts that I attached to extend it upwards, I just sewed those together with a regular seam, and then top stitched either side to keep that seam allowance down, keep it nice and flat and not get in the way, and then I just trimmed it quite close to the stitching so there's no flappy bits flying about. So that is what I've done for the main cotton piece, and now what I'm going to do is fold this in half and then cut the exact same shape out of the poplin fabric, and then the poplin fabric will be used to line this fabric with. Unfortunately, my fabric is not wide enough to cut the piece all in one, so I'm going to have to cut it on the fold, and there's going to be a seam down here. So that's the fold of the fabric there. Unfortunately, I couldn't have the piece go upwards like this because there wasn't enough fabric, so I've had to do it this way instead, and the selvage edge here, I'm just going to sew that together to create the one piece. So I'm just going to cut this out now, and then sew those two seams together, two edges together to form one seam, and then I'm going to top stitch either side of the seam allowance just the same way that I did those seams up there. Okay, so now what I've got on the floor is the cotton layer facing upwards, as in the raw edges are actually like touching the ground, and then on top of the cotton I've got the poplin fabric, which has just been laid smoothly over the top with the raw edges facing up. So essentially it's the cotton layer and the poplin layer right sides together. Here you can see the seam that I sewed up the centre back of the poplin layer, exactly the same way I did the other ones. So I sewed a seam and then top stitched the seam allowance down on either side. I didn't bother trimming the excess seam allowance because this is the selvage edge, and that's fine. And also this fabric is actually really thin, so it's not like it's going to cause any trouble. The next thing to do is to sew all along here and all along here, and then I can turn it right side out. This is going to take a long time. So I am going to pin all along the long edges, and I'm hoping that like just one of these will be enough for all of this fabric to fit through, but we will have to see. I might have to make it another opening like a little bit bigger, so maybe like that much, I don't know. But yeah, I am going to pin all of this together and then sew all along this edge and along that edge. So I didn't actually film any of this on camera, but what I did was I sewed along the long edges and left those short edges, just left them, didn't sew them. And then I flipped the entire thing outside in, so now that means that there are no raw edges or seam allowances, so it's the right sides of the fabric. Same goes with this seam as well. It's all nice. That's actually the seam allowance, which is in between the two layers. And then what I did was took this to the ironing board and ironed all along the edges to make sure that they were nice and crisp. It was a little bit difficult to try and get it as smooth as possible and as close to the edge as I could possibly get it, but I think I am happy with that. And what I'm quickly going to do is just run all around all edges, just top stitching really close to the edge, just to top stitch that seam allowance in, so I don't have the layers shifting away from one another, and that will keep the edge really nice and smooth. And then as for the parts where I didn't sew anything and they're just raw edges still, I'm thinking of just folding these raw edges inwards, so folding that under like that, and same goes with the other side, and then just top stitching over that to lock those raw edges in, and that will be the base completely done. So yeah, I'm going to take this to the sewing machine now and top stitch around every single edge, and that should finish off the base, and hopefully tomorrow I can start on the ruffles. So I've just finished top stitching down all of the edges of the whole base train part of the skirt. So I sewed quite close to the edge but made sure to catch the seam allowance in there. So effectively I'm sewing through 4 layers of fabric, and that really helps to provide a bit more body to the edge, and it just makes sure that the layers of fabric won't shift away from one another. As for the short edges, I've just sewn them like so, by tucking in the raw edges and then just top stitching over them. These were a little bit dodgy. My machine had trouble at the really thick points, but whatever. This will not be seen. It will be hidden under the dress, so it's not like it needs to be perfect. So I'm thinking that the poplin layer, which is this, will be the layer that faces towards the ground, and then the cotton broadcloth layer will be the one that faces up towards the lining of the actual skirt. So yeah, that is the base done, and I will start on ruffles tomorrow. I'm calling it a night. It is like 6 p.m. and I've been at this the whole afternoon. Yeah, so I'm very pleased with how the edges turned out. And sorry that I didn't capture a lot of this on camera as I was doing it, like the turning of it outside in, and doing the ironing, and sewing down all of the seams and things like that. I just wanted to try filming a different way, filming a more vlog style, just updating as I go, rather than showing the actual progress. But I'm thinking maybe I will try and incorporate more of the progress type clips, so things like sewing, cutting, ironing, all of that in future videos. But I think I'll change it up depending on how I feel. But yeah, for today's video, I didn't really want to go through the effort of doing that. And one more thing before I go, I thought I would just show you how it's sort of going to look at the base of the skirt. So that's the base ruffle, base train ruffle, the base train, yeah, that's it, the base train ruffle, just laid on top of the skirt, so you can see the area that it's going to provide coverage for underneath the skirt. Obviously this will need to be attached from the underside.